Letting them fail. No one likes to fail, and no one likes to see someone they care about fail. But failure is an important part of life. It is how we recognize that something that we're doing is not working. It is a catalyst to do something differently. It is a motivator to change. Interestingly, Thomas Edison, is one of the most famous inventors of history. He failed over 10,000 times trying to produce the light bulb. And he said, I have not failed 10,000 times. I have not failed once. I have succeeded in proving that those 10,000 ways do not work. When I have eliminated all the ways that will not work, I will find the one that does. What a powerful statement having to do with trying and failing. The problem is when we're in dysfunctional relationships that we don't like to see somebody we care about fail. We have made ourselves often the one who needs to rescue. Rescuing means enabling. When you enable something, it means you give the person to the means to continue doing something that is not working. So here are some examples of enabling. Paying rent for a person who is not using their abilities to make money to pay the rent, or who is spending the money they do have on other things rather than rent. Rent should be a pretty high priority. You shouldn't be buying clothes, buying a brand new car and having a big car payment, gambling, going out to eat every night when you have rent to pay. You should be putting the money aside to pay for your rent, not spending on other things, and then going to your parent or to someone else and saying, hey, I don't have enough money to pay my rent. Will you pay my rent? Or will you loan me the money to pay my rent? Allowing an adult child to live at home when the child is living there for free and not trying to get a job to pay you the rent that you've requested. Same thing, even if the child is living at home. Allowing a child to continue getting support from you when the child needs help for mental illness or for addiction and the child refuses to get help. Paying tuition for a child who gets D grades or who didn't finish the classes the prior semester and then paying the tuition the next semester. Driving a loved one to everywhere they need to go after they have had their license suspended because of a driving while under the influence or driving while intoxicated. So that person makes a choice, gets a license taken away, and then you make up for all of their needs with driving them around, dropping your schedule, changing your schedule, taking your time to take them there, pick them up, when instead it should be basically, you know, you can use your bike. You don't even have to say this, but you can recognize, hey, I'll allow them to figure out their own way. They can, if they want to ask a friend for a ride, great. I can't stop that, but it doesn't have to be me. I can let them take a bus. I can let them walk. I can let them ride a bike, or I can let them miss some things and find out that when you drive under the influence, that you mess your life up, because guaranteed, if they continue to do it, the next time they could actually hurt somebody really badly, and their life and the other person's will really be messed up. So doing a child's homework so the grade doesn't fall. Oh, so many parents are tempted to do this. Also, another kind of enabling is going to the teacher or the coach and making an excuse for your child because your child didn't do the homework or didn't keep the grade up, but you want your child to be able to keep playing that sport instead of bearing the consequence of not being able to do that when they didn't keep their grade up. Pretending everything is okay in a relationship when it isn't. When there's abuse or there's dysfunction And instead of saying something and what we call rocking the boat, which is speaking up and saying something that's going to cause some feedback or cause the person to be upset or cause some problems in your relationship, you just pretend it's okay and cover up. That's enabling too. So as you can see, enabling doesn't allow the person to fail, doesn't let the person experience the consequences. So one of the things that you can keep this in mind, choice, with choice comes consequences. With consequences comes learning. With learning comes motivation to change. So choice brings consequences, consequences bring learning, and learning brings a different choice. That is the way it's supposed to work. When you enable, you interfere with that learning process. Guess what you do? And we often do this, one, because we don't want to see our beloved children in pain. We don't want our spouse to be mad at us. We don't want our spouse to, experience. Sometimes it's we don't want our spouse to experience something like losing a job or having a license taken away or getting in trouble at work or something, if the kids see the truth, because we don't want it to fall back on us. Because a lot of times in marriage, what happens to your spouse has a ramification in your own life. But when you enable, when you allow something to continue, it only means one thing. The behavior will continue longer than if you hadn't enabled. The behavior, the problem will continue longer than if you hadn't enabled. If you don't enable, there is a greater likelihood that the person will get to what is called a bottom quicker. A bottom is when the person's consequences fall in on them and they are at a low point and they realize, I've got to do something different. That's a bottom. A bottom is good. A bottom is painful, sometimes painful to you, even just not only seeing it, but maybe experiencing what could go along with that. But you've got to make some hard choices. Sometimes by not enabling, we're saving someone's life, we're saving them from future problems. So we've got to let people fail. Let them fail. We don't have to interrupt the failure and we don't have to cause the failure. We can allow the failure to come naturally, as it will when they make choices that don't work. Now, can you control somebody else jumping in and enabling? You can speak your truth, but you can't often prevent someone from enabling. I had my mom often enable family members, including my own kid, because it was so uncomfortable for her to not, that she would do it. And I tried, but I couldn't prevent her. So I would have to do the best I could. So, you've got to, sometimes your hands are tied, but as far as it is with you, you don't enable. Galatians 6:7-8 says, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Whoever sows to please their flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. And I put it this way, cause and effect. You put a corn seed in the ground, you get a stalk of corn. You do not get an apple tree. The choices that you make give you the result. There's all kinds of scriptures and proverbs that talk about, if you see somebody with a sagging roof, it's because they're lazy and they won't fix their roof, right? Proverbs 26:27 says, whoever digs a pit will fall into it. If someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them. Now, I always say, yes, it will. Cause and effect will happen unless you jump in and rescue them and you prevent it from happening. So remember, let them fail, no matter how young your children are, no matter how old your children are, no matter how old a family member is, or a friend or a sibling. If you haven't done it before, it's time to do it. If you're doing it, keep it up. It will cause the person at some point to learn that they need to bear the consequences of their choices. It is a good thing. Thank you for watching, and I pray that you will continue to watch these and apply these principles to your life. They are practical tools based on biblical truths. Super powerful. God bless.